Like, she is crapping on the original production. I was scared of it. Oh, it was so weird. It was a stalker. Like, I feel like if you are taking on the most iconic Disney role ever, genuinely, like, this was the most prolific Disney film, I feel like you should kind of have some sort of reverence for the original production, for what it meant. It kind of seems like maybe this path that I'm taking right now is the path that Rachel Zegler should have taken instead of just running her mouth for the last 3 years.
The apple obviously was poisoned over 2 years ago at this point, but the fatal results are just now sinking in.
Oh boy.
1% evil, 99% hot gas.
Rachel Zegler's Snow White was supposed to be a big success. Disney spent $250 million remaking one of the most famous fairy tales ever. How could it fail? But now, 3 weekends after its release, it's doing terribly. The numbers are even worse than expected, and it's turning into one of Disney's biggest box office flops ever. It started badly, making only $42 million in the US during opening weekend. Then, it dropped 66% in the second weekend. Now, in the third weekend, it's fallen another 58%, lost almost 500 theaters, and made just $6.1 million. Experts say this isn't just a bad performance, it's a total disaster. Fans aren't just skipping the movie, they're completely walking away. Meanwhile, Brett Cooper is quietly moving forward with her own Snow White project. She confirmed that her version, which follows the original story more closely, is still happening. While Rachel's version is struggling, Brett's is gaining attention, without even being released yet. She even left the Daily Wire, started her own show, and still kept the project going. And now, with Disney in trouble, the timing looks perfect for her. One reason for the failure? Fans were turned off early. In interviews, Zegler said she didn't like the original Snow White, called the prince a stalker, and said the new version would be about leadership instead of love. Fans didn't like that. Then Disney replaced the dwarfs with strange-looking CGI characters, which made things worse. Now the reviews are in, and they're bad. It has a low rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a B+ on CinemaScore, and fans online are trashing it. The energy around the movie is negative, and the box office shows it. To make it worse, a Minecraft movie just opened and is already stealing attention. So far, Snow White has made only $168 million worldwide, far from enough to cover its cost. It could lose Disney at least $115 million. The failure is already affecting other projects. Disney has reportedly canceled its live-action Tangled movie because executives are too worried about another failure. As for Zegler, she's doing emotional interviews, trying to explain her past comments, but fans keep bringing them up. She's clearly frustrated and tired. There are even rumors she didn't get along with co-star Gal Gadot during filming. In the end, a movie that was supposed to be Disney's next big hit is now fighting to avoid being their lowest-earning live-action remake. And at the same time, Brett Cooper is calmly stepping up, ready to give audiences a different take on Snow White.
I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Snow White is officially ranked the worst movie of all time, reaching now a 1.8. People on the internet think, you know what, it should be even worse. And honestly, I don't disagree with them. These 7 CGI monstrosities. You're telling me, Disney, you could not find 7 actors to portray the iconic 7 dwarfs? For me, the fact that they literally took jobs for a role that is really hard for these kind of actors, that alone, this movie deserves all the hate. Honestly, Warwick Davis would have been a hilarious ass Grumpy.
To be honest, none of this is surprising given all of the drama that's been surrounding this film ever since it was announced. You had a bunch of people who did not agree with the casting of Snow White, and then Rachel Zegler only added fuel to the fire when she called the original Snow White movie dated. A lot of people feel like she was being disrespectful by saying that. In addition to her saying that there would be no prince saving the princess in this movie, many people wondered why remake it at all.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evident
Definitely so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So it's funny to me when they're talking about being proactive and making this all relevant, as if manipulation does not happen in 2023. As if young people are still not easily swayed. Like, wasn't Snow White 14 or 15 in the original story? I'm sorry that at that age, she didn't know everything. That she was not the girl bossiest feminist leader queen yet. Like, I'm sorry that's not good enough for you. That's just the story. This is still relevant. Being a young innocent person, that's something we have all experienced. That is relevant in itself. Again, the values are timeless. You do not need to change.
After months of controversy and a huge box office failure, Disney's Snow White has flopped hard, making only $87 million worldwide. That's far below what they needed to make back the $270 million they spent. Now, behind the scenes, people are pointing fingers. But instead of taking responsibility, Rachel Zegler is reportedly blaming someone else, Brett Cooper. Sources say Zegler has been secretly upset for a while, especially since fans were saying Brett should have played Snow White even before the movie was released. Now that the Disney version has officially failed, that frustration seems to be growing. Adding to Zegler's troubles, Brett Cooper's upcoming movie Snow White and the Evil Queen, produced by The Daily Wire, is already getting attention even though it hasn't come out yet. Cooper's version promises to stick to the original Brothers Grimm story, with clear themes like good versus evil and beauty versus vanity, without any political messages. That's exactly what many fans said they wanted. Meanwhile, Zegler's version went in a different direction. In interviews, she mocked the prince, called the 1937 classic weird, and said her Snow White doesn't dream about love or need anyone to save her. She made it clear the movie was about retelling the story with a modern feminist message, something that didn't sit well with many longtime Disney fans and conservative critics. Now that the movie has flopped, fans are being even more vocal, saying, Brett Cooper should have been Snow White from the start. Social media is full of side-by-side comparisons, and many people are saying they'll skip Disney's version and wait for Cooper's instead. What's even more surprising? Brett Cooper hasn't even released her movie yet, and fans are already calling it the real Snow White.
Go there, you stand, and you mold yourself to the character. And you lose a lot of yourself in doing that if you hate the project and if you hate the character you're playing. But if you're able to love the character, if you're able to love the production and the story you're telling, it makes it so much more meaningful and you feel like you're actually part of something that can impact audiences, can impact the culture in a really important way.
So let's close with Snow White and the Evil Queen. So you picked to play Snow White?
Yes. So we announced it when we announced Bentke, and I get a text from Jeremy who just goes, where are you? I'm like, I'm at my apartment. And he says, I need you to meet me at the Precinct. I was like, yes. So if Jeremy asks anything, you say, yes, I'll be there. Sprint out of the apartment. I get to the lobby of the Precinct, I sit down, and he says, we want to do something that it might be impossible. And this was at the time that it was during the SAG strike, but everything was going viral about Disney Snow White.
Everything Disney.
Everything
perversion
Disney.
of the social order and the demolition of the narrative.
Yep.
What of the
destruction of values.
Traditional narrative.
Yes.
Let's just rewrite this.
It'd be great every time.
Oh yeah. We'll improve it.
Yeah.
These
with their not so secret gay agenda. And so that was in the middle of all of this happening, and I had obviously been following it. I had done episodes about it.
No, the gay agenda is a mask. It's just a destructive agenda.
It is.
It's just it's a demolition agenda with
traditional values.
We're pro inclusion. That's the mask. That's the mask. That's so that if you attack it, you sound like a bigot.
Yeah, then you can't. It's their wall.
Yeah, no, we're just bringing in the marginalized. It's like, wait till you invite the real monsters out from underneath the rocks. You and you bringing in the marginalized. We're starting to see that happen already. Yeah, you went to see Jeremy, and he
So I went to see Jeremy, and this was as everything with Snow White was happening, and people were very disappointed, very upset about the way that Disney was rolling out this project. The way that they were
such a fun actress too.
During a podcast with Dr. Jordan Peterson, Brett Cooper took subtle shots at Disney, saying audiences were let down by how the studio handled the Snow White remake. She shared that her version would focus on truth, beauty, and tradition. Elements she believes Disney completely abandoned. Now insiders say Rachel Zegler is watching all of this unfold, and she's angry at the comparisons, angry that fans are turning on her, and angry that the spotlight she once had is now shifting. To Brett Cooper, Zegler's frustration is reportedly turning personal, while Cooper's take on Snow White is already capturing attention before it's even released. What started as just another remake has now become something bigger, the unexpected rivalry Disney never saw coming.
Snow White is actually written by Greta Gerwig, who also wrote Barbie and Lady Bird and Princess Ha. And we have been talking about her a lot recently because of Barbie, but also she's one of my favorite writers and directors. I've liked her since high school, so this pains me because what she is doing with Snow White seems absolutely terrible.
Dude, I trusted you. I trusted her.
Because she's involved, I want to believe that this movie will have some redeeming qualities. Will I actually watch it? Probably not. But I hope that it does for those of you who do watch it. But the lead actresses, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, are making it very, very difficult for me to believe that there's anything redeeming about this project whatsoever. Now, I am sure that we have all seen this viral clip, but let's just watch again.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Oh my god, it's a really incredible story. You're making this girl boss story based on an important father figure. Her father tells her to be brave and strong. Don't you think that there's a, something redeeming about men in this story? Oh, that just stood out to me. This is the first time I noticed that, even though I've watched this like 6 times now.
It's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
I am. Why do they look so smug? They both have that look on their face, just like the feminists, like, yeah, we're so much better than you.
Compounding the drama, the Daily Wire is reportedly facing serious financial trouble. Behind closed doors, rumors suggest CEO Jeremy Boring has been urgently taking unusual steps, possibly even bugging the office, in an effort to get control of the situation. This internal chaos adds another twist to Brett Cooper's rise as the new Snow White in a competing production. The timing couldn't be more dramatic. As Cooper steps into the spotlight for her version of Snow White, her tense relationship with her former employer is raising eyebrows. It leaves people wondering, could all this behind-the-scenes turmoil impact her ability to fully embrace the role? Or will it actually strengthen her image as someone who can stand strong in the middle of a high-stakes Hollywood shakeup? The Daily Wire's struggles also put a spotlight on its bold move into entertainment. While Cooper's Snow White is earning early praise for sticking to the original story, it's still unclear whether the company can survive its internal problems and stay relevant in today's culture war. Now, let's step back and take a closer look at how we got here.
Literally the one in that trailer, and I'm still like so excited and I get chills. There I am, Gary, there I am! The whole thing is just so cool. The moment when the music starts to crescendo as I turn around, when I first heard the music, I was like, stop right there. That's just so amazing. Funnily enough, I recorded the song without hearing the rest of the trailer's score, so I had no idea what it would sound like. I had no idea what Jeremy and his team were envisioning, and he was actually writing the song and writing the music in between takes while he was directing Pendragon. We were texting back and forth trying to figure out the right key and what it was going to sound like, and he was sending me messages like, I'm so sorry, I'm in the middle of, a glacier valley in Italy, and my songs aren't going through, but we figured it out.
And I saw myself on screen and I just wanted to throw up. I was so happy about it, and it was the most incredible experience, and the fan reaction was insane. We didn't even see what they were clapping for. I think it was good. I don't know.
We didn't see any.
On the surface, this might seem like a simple case of two actresses with different creative visions. But when you look closer, Rachel Zegler's reaction appears to be less about artistic differences and more about fighting for public approval in a high-stakes spotlight. The competitive tension between Zegler and Brett Cooper is hard to miss. Zegler, once seen as a rising Disney star, is now dealing with a major image problem, especially after her dismissive comments about the original Snow White alienated many fans. Then comes Brett Cooper, an outsider to the Hollywood system, coming from a politically charged platform, yet fully embracing the role of Snow White with a genuine love for the original story. Her growing popularity and positive reception seem to have shaken Zegler, who may view Cooper as a direct threat to her relevance and credibility. Zegler's recent criticism, which conveniently coincides with the rising buzz around Cooper's version, feels more like an attempt to take a shot at the competition than a meaningful critique. Her insecurity is starting to show, especially as her version of Snow White has been widely criticized for being too modernized and disconnected from what made the character beloved in the first place. Comments like saying she's only seen the original once and didn't like it haven't helped her case. In contrast, Cooper's respect for the classic story and her heartfelt connection to the role are resonating with fans. Zegler's dismissive tone toward Cooper, along with her defensive attitude in interviews, hints at something deeper, a fear of being overshadowed by someone who doesn't even come from traditional Hollywood circles. While rivalry and personal insecurity are definitely factors, this clash also highlights two very different storytelling philosophies. Zegler sees Snow White as a platform for modern feminist messaging, fitting into a broader Hollywood trend of reimagining classics to match today's values. Cooper, on the other hand, is part of a growing movement that wants to preserve the charm and meaning of traditional tales. Zegler may think sticking to the original is outdated or even regressive, but for many fans, her rejection of themes like love and innocence feels like she's dismissing what made the story timeless in the first place. Her criticism of Cooper seems to say more about her own internal struggles than about the project she's attacking. Instead of taking responsibility for the backlash around her version, Zegler appears to be shifting the focus, trying to discredit Cooper's take before it even releases. But ironically, this move only strengthens Cooper's image as someone standing up for classic storytelling in a time when many feel Hollywood has lost its way. In the end, fans who grew up loving the original Snow White are tired of constant reinventions. They're rallying behind Cooper, who isn't apologizing for staying true to the story's roots. What could have been a thoughtful debate about creative direction now looks more like a desperate attempt by Zegler to hold on to a spotlight that's clearly moving on.
A narcissist. Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
I mean, a couple of things. Obviously, dude, so much has gone on. Trailers have come out. Like, that's crazy pants. Are you kidding me? I'm like, I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Right. Every time that a celebrity gets like one DM that says KYS, they're like, I'm getting death threats! Someone save me, but not a prince! Don't.
Anybody but a prince!
Don't you dare save me.
Well, she like with Sony, she's like, I'm getting these death threats, and the cops were like, well, save yourself. Like,
yeah, you're.
I saw that.
Aren't you?
I saw that interview. Save yourself. You'll be fine.
What is this movie all about? Like, what started it off? Where did you get the first idea for it? And what are you hoping to accomplish with this one?
So we got the idea for it literally the day that Rachel Zegler did an interview in which she said that she hated the original Snow White and wanted to rip the guts out of it.
Weird.
And then Disney released those ridiculous cast photos of dwarves that were not dwarves, the multiracial, multi-ethnic, tall people, and one dwarf. This is how we make decisions in the Daily Wire. I literally just emailed that to my business partner, Jeremy Boring, and I was like, we should do something like this. And Jeremy's like, okay, we're just going to make Snow White, but we're going to do it to all the specs, with music, with singing, with the original storyline in classic fashion that imbibes from the original well of the values. Specifically because if Disney wants to cede that field to us, we'd be fools not to take it. And we're kind of shocked by the fact that no other studio...
The reaction that came with the Disney version of Snow White. There's certainly been people who have been less enthusiastic about the live-action remakes they've done. I'm definitely one of them. It was very much a case of, okay, here comes another one. Then they cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White, and you think, okay, well, it's a race swap of the character, and it seems a bit nonsensical given the nature of the Germanic legend. But okay, fine.
And the name of the movie, and the plot of the movie, and
exactly.
The fact that if you want, like, I don't care about the skin color of the characters, but when the literal line from the movie is "skin as white as snow,"
yeah,
and that's why her name is Snow.
Rachel Zegler may have once believed she was the definitive face of Snow White, but recent events have left her completely overshadowed and possibly speechless, while she's been stuck at the center of relentless backlash for her dismissive take on Disney's classic tale. Brett Cooper has emerged as a surprise contender, turning the entire narrative on its head. And Cooper isn't just challenging Zegler on screen, she's also dealing with her own off-screen drama, making this the most intense Snow White showdown yet. For months, Zegler has faced harsh criticism. Old interview clips resurfaced where she mocked the 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, calling it weird and outdated, proudly declaring that her version would be completely different. Fans were furious, especially when she called Prince Charming a stalker and said her Snow White wouldn't be saved by any prince. Instead of honoring the timeless themes that made the story beloved, Zegler seemed focused on rewriting them entirely, which alienated Disney's core audience. Things got worse when it was revealed that the remake would remove the iconic seven dwarfs and replace them with a diverse group of magical bandits, an odd choice that even industry insiders found baffling. Critics accused Zegler of pushing an agenda rather than respecting the source material. Her dismissive attitude didn't help either. When asked about the original film, she rolled her eyes and said she'd only watched it once, and didn't find it relatable. At first, Disney tried to defend her, but the backlash grew too loud to ignore. It got so intense, the studio was forced to delay the film's release to 2025, an almost unheard of move that hinted at major trouble behind the scenes. Some insiders claimed Disney had started reworking the film to avoid another Marvel-style flop. And just as Zegler's Snow White seemed to be falling apart, Brett Cooper entered the picture with a rival film that offered everything Disney didn't: loyalty to the original fairy tale. Snow White and the Evil Queen, produced by The Daily Wire, promised a return to tradition, with a classic princess, a real prince, and no forced modern messaging. It was exactly what many fans had been asking for. Suddenly, Zegler wasn't the only Snow White in town, and next to Cooper's version, hers looked even worse. Fans quickly began rallying around Cooper's film, praising it as the real Snow White they had wanted all along. The contrast couldn't be more obvious. While Zegler's version was stuck in controversy and delays, Cooper's take was being celebrated for honoring the story's roots. But Cooper's rise hasn't been without its own complications. Behind the scenes, she quietly parted ways with The Daily Wire, where she had hosted her popular show, The Comment Section. Her departure sparked speculation. Some say it was due to financial issues within the company, while others think internal disagreements played a role, especially since Cooper often avoided taking strong political stances, while others at the company leaned in heavily. Still, even with that behind-the-scenes tension, Cooper's Snow White is gaining momentum, and her image as someone who respects classic storytelling is only growing stronger. Meanwhile, Zegler's version continues to face criticism, delays, and disappointment. What was once just a movie remake has now turned into a cultural face-off. 2 Snow Whites, 2 visions, and one story that's become bigger than anyone expected.
And welcome to the Brett Cooper Show. I am so happy that you guys found me over here on this new channel. I am so excited to start this new chapter with you guys. We have been hard at work behind the scenes, literally boots on the ground, me and my 80-year-old neighborhood grandpa putting shiplap up on the ceilings to cover up my 90s popcorn ceilings that I thought you guys would not find aesthetically pleasing on a set. We're literally in a room at my house. We put this all together. Anyway, I am so excited to bring this new show to you and show you guys what we have been working on. So my goal with this new show is to foster understanding, to go deeper and extract substance in the stories and issues that matter most to us, the issues that impact us on a daily, personal.
Brett Cooper's faithful take on Snow White has intensified the backlash against Rachel Zegler's modernized version by highlighting everything fans feel Disney got wrong. Cooper's approach, which embraces the original Brothers Grimm tale. And the 1937 Disney classic comes across as a heartfelt tribute rather than a remake with an agenda. Her portrayal emphasizes traditional values like love, kindness, and resilience, qualities that fans associate with the essence of Snow White. Audiences have responded positively, praising her for staying true to the character's roots and breathing new life into a story they feel Hollywood has been trying to rewrite. This warmth and sincerity stand in sharp contrast to Zegler's interpretation, which has been heavily criticized for stripping away the charm and romanticism of the original. Zegler's version focused on portraying Snow White as a strong, independent woman who doesn't need love or saving, an angle that might resonate in some circles, but felt dismissive to many longtime fans. Her public comments, including calling the original film weird, labeling the prince a stalker, and expressing little connection to the original, only deepened that divide. Where Cooper shows respect and admiration for the story's legacy, Zegler's approach has been viewed as condescending. That contrast has turned Cooper into a kind of cultural counterpoint, someone who embodies the nostalgia and sincerity that many feel is missing in modern Disney adaptations. it's not just about performance anymore, it's about what each actress represents. Online, fans have drawn clear lines between the two. Cooper has become a symbol for those who are tired of woke remakes and yearn for classic storytelling without political overtones. Her calm, optimistic public persona adds to this appeal, especially when compared to Zegler's defensive tone in interviews. Where Cooper seems genuine and gracious, Zegler's flippant remarks have alienated audiences further. Cooper's success has essentially created a new measuring stick. Her traditional version has reminded people of what they once loved about Snow White, and in doing so, it has made the flaws in Zegler's modernized vision even more obvious. For many, Cooper feels like the rightful heir to the character, while Zegler appears out of touch with the very audience she was meant to connect with. Ultimately, Cooper didn't just offer an alternative version, she offered a rebuke of Hollywood's current trend of reinventing classics. And that, more than anything, is why the backlash against Zegler has only grown louder.